I was about 8 years old when this happened. My brother is 2 years older than me, and we were both friends with brothers of the same age from a different family. They also had a significantly older brother, although he had a car and a license, so he never was really around. We spent a lot of time on their family farm growing up. This particular day we were spending the night. My brother and his friend decided they wanted to stay downstairs in sleeping bags, while my buddy and I get the bedroom upstairs with bunk beds. We stayed up well past midnight, talking and laughing about nothing at all, just having fun, until the whispers and quiet laughter were cut off by another noise. I heard it for a couple of minutes before saying anything, but when it refused to stop, I finally spoke up. "Did you hear that?" I asked my friend, practically cutting me off mid-sentence. "The footsteps," he replied, confirmation that he had been hearing it too. Someone was walking up and down the hall, just outside our bedroom door. We were the only ones on the top floor, and you could see the hallway was pitch black from the gap beneath the door. I asked if his older brother had maybe come home, knowing his room was the only other room upstairs. My friend assured me he wasn't coming home that night. The footsteps continued. I decided to check it out, now wondering if it was our older brothers planning to prank us. I quietly shifted over to the door, twisting the handle. I waited until the footsteps had passed the door, cracking it open just enough to see the backside of whoever was out there without them seeing me. I looked through the seam of the door and its frame. I saw an empty hallway. The footsteps stopped immediately. No one was there. There was no time, no place for anyone to hide. As my mind struggled for an explanation, I convinced myself it had to be my brother. I don't know how he managed to hide, but he had to be down that hall. This had to be a prank. My friend was hesitant to investigate further, but I told him I just wanted to peek into the living room to see if our brothers were there. If not, odds are that's who we heard in the hall. Besides, the direction of the stairs was in the opposite direction we had last heard the footsteps. We'd be walking away from them. With him on board, we headed for the stairs. The staircase left in a 90-degree angle, maybe 5 steps to a small landing, then 10 to 12 more to the bottom. A small window set in some moonlight, but it faced away from the final descent. Once on the landing, we stared down into an increasingly dark stretch to the living room. I went first, slow but keeping a pace moving forward. I still had the idea that someone else was behind us upstairs. Nearing the bottom, my eyes struggled to adjust to the dark. My foot touched the last step. In the same instant, something ran directly in front of me. I didn't see anything, but it was so close I felt the air rush past as it ran from left to right. That close I should have seen something, an outline, a figure, some sort of mass directly in front of me. There was nothing. The shock, amplified by already being on high alert, was enough to send me stumbling backwards to my friend. We both fell back onto the stairs. Adrenaline was at an all-time high. Whatever that was, I could feel its presence as it passed. Like when someone is standing behind you, it was taller than me. Although being a kid, most people were at the time. We stayed still, silent, listening for whatever came next. Nothing. My friend had enough. As he took a step up the stairs, I told him I was going to at least peek into the living room. He made his way back to the room, as I grabbed the handrails of the stairway. Without leaving the imaginary safety of the staircase, I leaned myself out into the living room. To my left, I saw my brother and his buddy still asleep in their sleeping bags. Whatever had run in front of us has been in there with them. Not taking the time to process this, I continued to scan the rest of the main floor. To the right was the kitchen with a fairly large window going out to the yard. I could see the driveway, well lit from a nearby yard light. I froze, my grip tightened on the railing. Someone was walking down the driveway into the property. It was an older man, late 40s, maybe 50. He wore coveralls with visible patches. His shoes looked old and very worn. A thin denim-looking jacket also showed some signs of stress, topped off with an equally worn hat, an old style I had never seen someone wear before. He was carrying a large burlap sack over his shoulder. It too had a patch sewn onto its side. All this was overshadowed by the bizarre detail of it all. Everything about him, his clothes, hat, skin, and even the sack he was carrying was a soft, glowing gray color. I stared as he walked down the driveway. My mind was empty. I simply couldn't process this. I was lost in a trance. I had seen a ghost. I bolted upstairs, my friend already back in his bunk. I explained what I had seen, whether it was the look on my face or the tremble of my voice. I could see he had no problem believing me. Silence and tension replaced our previous lighthearted whispers and laugh. Somehow, we eventually fell asleep. The next morning, we didn't say anything. No one would believe us, especially coming from the younger brothers. Besides, I wasn't ready to have that conversation with anybody. We all sat in the living room, watching TV before our day got started. Their mom entered the room behind us. This woman was one of the nicest I've ever met, patient and always wearing a genuine smile. This was the only time that smile was absent. She looked pale and extremely tired. Her eyes were dark with bags below them. She didn't look at any of us, just stared right past us. Did any of you see anybody walking around last night? Her question seemed like it was meant for no one. We all stared. I was so caught off guard by her demeanor I didn't even connect her question to the events last night. We all just shook our heads, indicating we hadn't. Without another word, she turned around and went back into her room. Immediately after I realized what she had really asked, and the pizza started to click, I never told her. I never told anyone. My friend and I didn't discuss it again for nearly 2 decades, and even that conversation was brief. As of this writing, I still haven't told my brother. I've been working the overnight shift at a small gas station off the highway for about 8 months. It's not a busy place after midnight. Most of the customers are truck drivers, the occasional ride-share driver, or someone grabbing cigarettes before heading home. After 2 a.m. it usually gets dead quiet. The hum of refrigerators gets louder, the fluorescent lights feel harsher, and every sound seems bigger than it should be. I got used to that silence. What I didn't get used to is the night he showed up. It was a Wednesday, around 2:10 a.m., when a dark sedan pulled into Pump 3. I noticed it immediately because I hadn't seen a car in nearly 40 minutes. The vehicle stopped, but no one got out. The engine stayed running. I waited for the driver to step out and start pumping gas, but nothing happened. 5 minutes passed, then 10. The car just sat there with the headlights on, aimed directly to the store windows. Eventually the lights turned off, but the engine was still running. That's when I started feeling uneasy. After almost 20 minutes, the driver finally stepped out. He was an average-looking guy, maybe mid-30s, wearing a dark hoodie and jeans. Nothing obviously strange about him except he didn't reach for the pump. He didn't even look at it. He just stood beside his car, staring at the store. At me. I tried to act normal, pretending to organize the counter, but I could feel his eyes locked onto the building. After about a minute, he walked inside. He didn't browse, didn't grab a drink, didn't reach for his phone. He walked up to the counter and stood there, silently. I gave him a casual, "Hey, how's it going?" He didn't answer. He just looked at me expressionlessly. After a few seconds, he asked, "What time do you get off?" The question hit me wrong. Customers sometimes make small talk, but this didn't feel like that. I told him 6 a.m. even though my shift ends at 5. He nodded slowly like he was storing that information. Then he glanced around and asked, "You here by yourself?" I lied and said my coworker is in the back doing inventory. He didn't buy anything. He didn't say goodbye. He just turned and walked out. But he didn't leave. He got back into his car and stayed parked at the pump. The engine was still running. 50 minutes passed, then 30. I kept checking the security monitor, hoping to see brake lights and then watch him drive off. Instead, at around 3 a.m., he moved the car, but not towards the exit, but into a parking spot directly in front of the store entrance. Then he turned his engine off. That's when I locked the door. We're not supposed to lock the door during overnight hours, unless it's a serious reason, but something in my gut told me this one was. A few minutes later, he stepped down and walked up to the entrance. He pulled the handle. It didn't open. He looked at me through the glass and smiled. It wasn't aggressive. It wasn't friendly. It was calm, like he expected the door to be locked. He tried the handle again, slower this time, then leaned slightly to the side, trying to see further inside the store. I picked up the phone and pretended to be in the middle of a call. He watched me for a few seconds, then walked back to his car. I thought this would be the end of it, but he didn't drive away. He sat there, completely still. The parking lot was empty except for his car. The highway in the distance was quiet. It felt like the entire world had shrunk down to just me and him. I finally called the non-emergency police line and explained that a man was lingering outside for nearly an hour, and he had asked what time I got off work. While I was on the phone, I saw his brake lights flick on. My heart jumped, thinking he was finally leaving. Instead, he pulled forward and parked along the side of the building out of view of the main windows. That's when I really panicked. There's a blind spot along the side wall where the dumpsters are. The security camera covers most of it, but not the very edge of the back door. I keep staring at the monitor, terrified I'd see him walk past the camera toward the employee entrance. Minutes felt like hours. The dispatchers told me the police were on the way. That's when I saw movement on the screen. He stepped into frame from the side of the building, walking slowly toward the front again. He didn't try the door this time. He just stood there looking in, waiting. After what felt like forever, police lights finally flashed across the parking lot. He moved when he saw them. He got back into his car and drove off before the police officers even pulled in. They took my statement, checked the area, and reviewed the footage. There wasn't much they could do since he hadn't technically broken the law or threatened me. They advised me to call immediately if he came back. He didn't return that night, or the next one. But about 2 weeks later, I was checking the cameras during a quiet shift, when I felt my stomach drop. A dark sedan slowly drove past the station without turning in. It didn't stop, it didn't slow down much, but as it passed under the street light, I saw the driver's face clearly for just a second. It was him. He didn't look at the pumps, he didn't look at the road, he was looking directly at the store windows. And even though he kept driving that time, I hadn't worked a single shift without wondering if one night he's going to come back and this time not leave at all. About 5 years ago, me and my family moved to a new house. We only moved a couple streets away from our previous one. Our new home was nice, but a bit of a fixer-upper. It needed a lot of work and it didn't have a burglar alarm, which was weird. Anyway, the very first night we had in our house, we were all asleep upstairs. It's me and my wife in our room, my daughter in hers, and my son in his. I got woken up by something walking into our room. It's my 4-year-old son rubbing his eyes and saying he has been woken up by banging noises. I tell him to get in our bed. The bed is too small for me to fit in as well, so I swap beds with him. I lie down in his bed, and after a few seconds I hear the same banging noises he had. I wasn't sure what it was, so I went to check. I walked out of my son's bedroom to go take the stairs down. At the top of the stairs is a window that if you look out and look down, you can see the side of our house, and beneath that window is a back door that goes straight into our kitchen. I look out to see if I can see anything that might be causing the noise, and that's when I see it. About 4 or 5 men stood casually dressed in ski masks and big coats, all standing outside the door. They have the lights of their phones all shining on our door, and one guy at the front of the group is yanking the door handle off the door trying to break in. It took me a second to comprehend what I was looking at and realize this wasn't a dream. I don't know why I did this next thing, but this is how I handle it. I casually opened the window, poked my head out, and looked down at the 4 or 5 men trying to break in, and I said, "Excuse me guys, could you fuck off please?" I didn't even say it in an angry voice. I was quite calm. But the other weird thing is that they all just immediately turned about and just walked off. There was no urgency, no scrambling away. We rang the police straight away. We didn't sleep out all that night. It freaked us out because that was our first day in our new home. I have to admit I hated the house after that. I didn't feel safe and wanted to move back into our old home. The next day the police came and we got a burglar alarm and added new locks to the doors and a spotlight outside the front door. We found out that a gang had been going around and robbed a bunch of other houses nearby that same night. We checked the damage and the door was hanging on by a thread. They were probably seconds away from getting in. It still freaks me out that if my son hadn't woken me up, I wouldn't have slept in his bed and I wouldn't have heard the banging, and I wouldn't have seen them outside my door and stopped them just in time. It's weird as well that they responded to me so calmly telling them to fuck off.